Welcome back, welcome back. We're going to do another shadow room. Let's see what we find.
You there, second desk, blue jacket. What is your name?
My name is Alexis.
Alexis, please leave my lecture room. I don't want to see you at one of my lectures ever again.
I don't understand.
I am not going to ask a second time. Thank you. Why are there laws? What are laws for? Anyone?
Social order?
To protect the person's personal rights. So that you can rely on the government?
Justice? Thank you. Tell me, was I unfair to your classmate just now? Indeed I was. So, why didn't any of you protest? Why didn't any of you try and stop me? Why didn't you want to prevent this injustice? You see, what you have just learnt, you wouldn't have understood in 1,000 hours of lectures unless you lived it. You didn't say anything because you weren't affected yourself. And this attitude speaks against you and against life. You think it doesn't concern you, so it's none of your business. Well, I'm here to say, if you don't help bring about justice, then one day you too may experience injustice, and there will be nobody there to stand before you. Truth and justice lives through us all, and we must fight for it. Because in life and work, we often live next to each other, but not with each other. We console ourselves that the problems of others are nothing to do with us, none of our business. And we go home glad at night that we're spared, but it's about standing up for each other. Every day an injustice happens in business, sport, or on the tram. Relying on someone else to take care of it.
Yeah, isn't that the truth? They didn't say anything because they believe he has power and authority. What's that old saying? There's power in numbers. Shout out to the wolves. Salute to the ninjas.
Solomon married over 700 wives and still had 300 concubines? The truth.
Yeah, I wondered that a lot of times, and I figured it out myself.
Reason goes beyond what many imagine. The Bible tells us that after Solomon became king, during the 40 years of his reign, Israel lived in peace and prosperity, without facing a single war. But how was that possible? The answer lies in a political strategy. Solomon inherited many enemies from his father David, enemies who hated Israel. So to ensure peace and protect the kingdom, Solomon made alliances with various tribes and nations, and a common way to seal these alliances at the time was through marriage. By taking these women as wives, he ensured Israel's stability and peace with its neighbors. Solomon even married Pharaoh's daughter, strengthening ties with the powerful Egypt. His marriages were not just for pleasure, but part of a strategy to secure peace and prosperity for Israel. Do you enjoy biblical stories? Share for more. Have you?
Oh, really?
There's only two things in life that you worry about. Whether you're healthy or whether you're sick. If you're healthy, you ain't got nothing to worry about. But if you're sick, you got two things to worry about. Whether you're going to get better, whether you're going to get worse. You get better, you ain't got nothing to worry about. But if you get worse, you got two things to worry about. Whether you're going to live, whether you're going to die. If you live, you ain't got nothing to worry about. But if you die, you got two things. Whether you're going to heaven, whether you're going to hell. If you go to heaven, you ain't got nothing to worry about. But if you go to hell, you got two things. Original or extra crispy? There's only two.
Your question.
Open the safe or I'll take your life.
I don't have a life. I'm married. Isn't it fun?
Open the safe or I'll take your life.
I don't have a life. Isn't it funny how?
Open the safe or I'll take your life.
I don't have a life. Isn't it funny how?
Open the safe or I'll take your life.
I don't have a life. I'm married.
Really?
I get in trouble for chewing too loud. I get in trouble if I use the bathroom too long. If there's a pretty girl on TV, I'm in trouble.
That's so sad.
I throw out toilet paper so I can go to the store and buy more. Just so I can be alone for a couple minutes.
I'm sorry. I had no idea. Come on, buddy, come on. Let's get out of here.
God.
Open the safe or I'll take your life.
No, you really believed in
Actual
UFOs.
photos. I have moving films.
And you're smart enough to know that in still pictures they can phony those up.
These are not phony.
But you've seen them.
And the night, the one you can see on Tuesdays and Thursdays is like a big bright star if you go out.
Tuesdays and
It's
Thursdays.
like a big bright star.
Oh, so that's what I seen this morning in front of New York for the last 3 years. Oh.
Seriously, it's like a big bright star, and you see it moving, and it'll go up and disappear and get real small like a pinhead, and then it'll come back, and it'll shake, and then it might appear and go over here. Seriously. I'm serious.
Well, I know you're serious in your belief. I don't have
not
a...
I don't see it move, but I know this the third summer in a row where I see one star. Just one star, and it's very strange.
I believe in it myself.
Just anybody who's got eyes is believing.
Well, you can see a lot of things, but that doesn't always make them objects from other planets.
Much of that. What about the fight?
Well, yeah, what about the fight? No, you really believed in
The actual
UFOs.
photos I have.
There has never been a traffic jam like this in Barcelona. Like even in the worst times, it's crazy. Just because traffic lights are not working.
In conjunction to the blackout, sirens are being heard everywhere, so it's a busy city. Traffic jams because the lights are working. People stuck in the elevator because, power's out. Like I am saying, y'all, this is happening too often. Are we getting close to some type of event? Look at this train over here. It stopped in the middle of nowhere and the people had to get out. Every part of digital life was down, y'all.
And Portugal have been hit by catastrophic power outages, leaving whole cities without any electricity or internet. Entire airports and metro systems have come to a halt, with both countries' car traffic facing chaos as lights and signals have stopped working. The Madrid Open has been suspended, with large crowds stranded at train stations across both countries.
The recent mass power outage in Spain and Portugal is not just random, y'all. It's symbolic. Let's break this down. These two nations were the original architect of colonization, global slavery, and forced spread of Catholicism. You know, the same system that ripped the indigenous people from their land, enslaved millions, and erased our cultures. They were the head of the serpent, so to speak. That's why when you look at the map, it looks like a head, doesn't it, y'all? Look at that. Here go another picture. Look, it looks like a head, doesn't it? Right? See, that's why it's called your rope. It was our rope. It was the rope over our heads. See, that's why I told you guys there's a great enlightenment, a great change coming, because the Pope's death signifies the end of the system that authorized slavery. So cutting off the power to Spain, to Portugal, is symbolically cutting off the head of the snake. That's why when we look at the top view of St. Peter's Basilica, where the Pope was laid to rest, it looks like a snake, doesn't it? Look at that. Here's the eyes, here's the head. Now, when you look at it at another angle, it's not just a sword, it is now a snake, right? Symbolically cutting off the head of the snake, right? That's why they say the tongue is mightier than the sword, because we have been speaking this thing into fruition, and now it has finally happened, y'all. The head of the snake is cut off. That's why the blackout took place in Portugal, Spain. A port is a portal or a door, and pain is a pain, right? It's cutting off the door to our pain, the portal to our pain, which has been Europe. It has been our rope, your rope. That's why Europe and Chaldean Gematria gives us 33, which is the age of enlightenment, y'all. I told y'all there is enlightenment going. This is the age that Jesus reached where...
I don't know about all of that, but did anybody else hear about a blackout, like in Spain? I don't really watch the news, but I know for sure that I talk about things like this because things happen. So, you know.
Early bird gets the worm.
Late mom gets
Ridiculous.
Well, I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of wild that I already know the events that's about to come and what's happening and why it's happening. And I still see everyone is still lost and confused about everything and still talking shit about people that speak like I do. They hate to believe in the truth, but they love to listen to the lie. Everyone that participated in the system is now paying for what they did in one way or another. Like I mentioned the school situation in my previous video, people refused to believe in that school was a scam. Everything we learned in the school was to oppress the real American people. Now we got healthcare. I just made a video about that also. Everything changing because it was a scam. It was used to break down the American people. What they did was experiment on us to help out the other races. If y'all didn't know what chemistry means, it's the study of the people of the ancient land of Kemet, though it's described as quote-unquote black people. And it later advanced on to biology, like this is what they're doing with the healthcare system. They're capping our genetics and building on everybody else's. Because as I said before, every human came from us. We're the original humans. Then we got the legal system. Made a video about that. We all see everything getting defunded because they are literally doing all kinds of unlawful shit. That's what legal means. Quote unquote legal is a path to do something unlawful. Like I explained to y'all before in the simplest way possible. It's like if you was to buy a car, right? We already know technically you own that car because you use your social security number, right? So it's yours. Now, when you can't keep up with their payments that you're paying in debt in negative value, not credit, not a positive value, they then want to take your car. How does that make sense? And then they hire somebody that has a quote-unquote license to do it. So technically in the books, you bought that car with your social security number. It is under your name. So how do they have the authority to literally send someone to steal your car? That's what they're doing, stealing your car. Because they have no ownership of the car they're taking. But of course, it's only quote-unquote legal because they have a license, bro. Just like slavery was legal. Look at the world now. But at the same time,
you know you had to have a license to be a slave owner, right? If you was a slave, you had to have your paperwork at one point. You know? You didn't know that?
Slavery is unlawful, bro. So now we're at a point where everything's about to get exposed, and whenever an event happens, it's going to be fast. But most likely, I'm kind of waiting for the power to go out. That'll be the number one sign. We already see the markets is playing around. At this point in time, the markets is shooting up just so it come crashing down. We're on our last run up in the markets because they have to completely crash the dollar, which already been crashed over a year ago. But like I said, all these other industries are still upholding the illusion that the money is still real, when it's not. And as I've been saying, when they cut the power, it's going to cut off all these towers too. That's draining our energy. Not only that, I'm like y'all all heard of CERN and HART. That's literally Antarctica going around our realm. This is how they was able to put electrical fence around us. So like I said, once they break their power grid that created electrical fence that literally drains our energy and use it against us, this will allow our energy to come back and our DNA to be reversed and all our timelines to be merged into one, meaning they won't be able to alter our reality anymore.
Well, that'll be awesome.
I figured it out. And look at the reaction, boys. I figured it out. And look at the reaction. I figured it out. And look at that reaction. I figured it out. And look at that reaction. Guys, nobody ever drives down this road ever. Ever. Look, it's blocked off. Nobody can drive down this road. Guys, nobody ever drives down this road. A whole bunch of red and blue cars just came storming down this, and it was right after I had looked at my psychological book about psychological stimulus, and then while they were provoking me, I was naming everything. I was like, came storming down this, and it was right after I had looked at my psychological book about psychological stimulus, and then while they were provoking me, I was naming everything. I was like, this is neutral stimulus, this is conditioned stimulus, that's conditioned response, that's conditioned stimulus. I was naming everything back to back to back, and that scared the out of them. That scared the, like I said, scared they use conditioned stimulus. That scared the out of them, right? After that scared the fucking girl, tell me why it was stimulus back to back, baby. Y'all see, this road is blocked off. Nobody can even drive through this road, but cars just keep coming. I walk down this road every single day. There is never any cars driving out here. But the day I figure out that conditioned stimulus, this road, but cars just keep coming. I walk down this road every single day. There is never any cars driving out here. But the day I figure out that conditioned stimulus, the day I figure out the scientific methods they're using, woo! Girl, they dead! They dead, my boy! Yes, oh my gosh. Headlights on. Why? Because headlights are unconditioned stimulus. Unconditioned stimulus gives you a reaction that you can't control. And the goal is to keep giving you reactions you cannot control. That's what they were doing. Using actions that I can't control and trying to go back to back to back with it to force a negative emotion inside of me. There's a whole bunch of red cars right in front of me across, y'all know if you can see, everybody just turned around because this is a closed off road. Nobody should be driving down here. It says it over there in the front before they even drove in here. That's to make me anxious and nervous. My camp is back. If you can see, everybody just turned around because this is a closed off road. Nobody should be driving down here. It says it over there in the front before they even drove in here. That's to make me anxious and nervous. My camp is back here. So if we get all of these red and blue cars and a mixture of other cars to drive back here where your tent at, you're gonna feel anxious and nervous, and you're gonna know to shut your damn brain up and stop trying to be smart, because we don't want you to do that. Be scared of that. Jeez. Y'all. Right when I said it, y'all, a red car right in front of me. Hold up. I don't know if y'all can see that. Right there. Shit, y'all can't see it. There's just more that keep coming. Closed off bridge, y'all. And they just, look. I'm low-key honored, y'all. Because if they're going through all of this to make me feel a few sensations in my body, I must have not gave them the reaction they wanted at all. They must be triggered. It's probably why they're trying to trigger me. See, they just all turning around. Look, Red car at the bottom because they thought I was gonna cut the camera off by now. They thought I was gonna cut that camera off by now, and that's why they had that shit hidden.
So you always gotta keep your camera close, you know? Always keep it ready.
Look at that, y'all. Always get the good shit on camera. Cause I don't record a lot. I don't record a lot, so they be like, oh, if we don't record a lot, she ain't gonna record. Oh, baby, I record at the perfect moment. I record at the perfect moment. Yeah, but this is just them making an intense stimulation because, like I said, I have a psychology book. And that psychology book is teaching me the scientific methods they're going about manipulating my brain. And because it's going about the scientific ways about understanding my brain, I'm understanding the terminology around what they're doing. I'm understanding the words, the terminology, and you can play mind games on somebody, but if you're gonna play mind games on them, they can't be aware of those mind games, or those mind games are not gonna work. See, red car. And you can play mind games on somebody, but if you're gonna play mind games on them, they can't be aware of those mind games, or those mind games are not gonna work. See, red car. Look, but it didn't drive all the way down here because they don't want you to see. They know I'm recording. So because I'm understanding the terminology, and because you see how it got loud? Look, right behind me. Look, he just turned around. He just turned around, but his headlights was blaring on my ass. They don't want me to catch y'all in this camera, y'all. But I'm learning the terminology, the psychology of what they're doing, and I was studying it in my book. And I did that for a good hour or two. And they were provoking me like a bitch while I was doing it too, but I just wasn't letting it, I was just naming it while they were doing it. And so, it got quiet. It got quiet like a month. And then I started to walk back to my tent. Boom. This shit back to back to back. Nobody ever comes down this road because this bridge is broken. Nobody can go down. There's a sign in the beginning of the road saying, do not cross. They moved the shit out the way just to drive down this road because you see this little orange thing right here? These are on both sides of the road. The road saying, do not cross. They moved the shit out the way just to drive down this road because you see this little orange thing right here? These are on both sides of the road. They moved them out the way just to drive down this road. Just to drive down here so they can drive around me and make me feel anxious and nervous with what they provoke you. Because if they provoke you with that, remember, that is conditioned stimulus. That's my conditioned stimulus. That's my conditioned stimulus. The color red is my conditioned stimulus. If we associate the color red, and if we keep on provoking you, see, right there, you see it? They get red front and back. If somebody provokes you with the color back to back to back for all of your years, right? There's gonna be reverse psychology in your brain. Why is it reverse psychology in your brain? Because if you didn't care about this thing at first, but if I force you to look at it every single day, now you're going to care about that. And not only are you going to care about that, but that's going to now trigger something in your chest and cause a negative emotion that you can't control. And that's what my conditioned stimulus is. Now, there's way more that comes to conditioned stimulus. What the scientific method they're using is classical condition, classical conditioning, classical conditioning. And because I was understanding the science, red car again, because I was understanding the science of it, every time I say something about a scientific terminology word, I see a red car. That's telling me, I'm going to provoke you when you do that. I don't want you to think like that. I don't want you thinking that. That was for me. Now you see, ain't nobody coming down that road. Because this is how the road usually is. Nobody ever comes down this road. The moment I walk down there, another red truck. Look, they tried to make it drive further so I wouldn't be able to catch it on camera. They slick. They know how to position themselves to avoid accountability so that shit don't get out. Yeah. I am actually honored. I'm actually very honored. Do you know how intelligent I had to look for them to feel the need to provoke me that bad? Look, my car's on me. After I done gave myself a compliment. Look, now they trying to them, they look at me, they think I look at them as conditioned stimulus, red truck. They want me to see, look, they tried to hurry up and make me be anxious about that. Also, they want me to associate somebody coming over here. That's an association. So if I show you the red car and I show you this human behavior that you find anxious, then that's an anxious event mixed in with the conditioned stimulus. You see, red and blue, they showing me again. They want you to connect they want you to connect the color with the traumatic event. If you keep on going through a traumatic event and a color is always there at that traumatic event, then the traumatic event doesn't have to happen anymore. Now, when you see the color, you're going to experience the sensations of that traumatic event, and I get to control you with that emotion now. That's what they're doing. See? And my brain is understanding it. So, guys, if something happens to me, look, right when I said it, red car started driving over y'all. I don't know, y'all. I'm too damn smart for my own good. This low-key scaring the shit out of me. I'm too smart for my own good. They've been trying to get me to believe in witches, magic, mermaids and shit. Bitch, this is 2025, ho. If you was a damn witch or what, like, we would have seen them bitches by now. I need something logical to understand. That's what's going on. And my brain just making connections. When it's connecting, all right, I ain't happy about that.
Witches and warlocks are real because if you're a fucking smart person that just, looks at history and all the people back then that convinced all the people back then that they were witches and warlocks and gods, and you realize they were fucking using parlor tricks. They were just smarter than stupid people. They knew if I combine this and do this, and if I use this, they'll think it's magic. But it's really David Blaine and all that. Like, if you go and watch how magicians and shit, the hocus pocus, how they get, and then you combine how stupid people are, and then you combine science. See, science is something we all believe in. Like witches and warlocks, back then, that's what they believed in. And then everybody said, some things are real and some things aren't. And a lot of people now confuse witchcraft with, it's sorcery, it's a goblin, it's aliens. No, it's science.
How do men pick who they manipulate, and how do you know when they're genuinely interested? How do men pick who they manipulate, and how do you know when they're genuinely interested?
There's always a profile to a manipulator. I'll give you some common reasons how they can tell if you're easy to abuse, manipulate, or exploit. Number one is if you're codependent. Another one is if you have low self-esteem. If you discount the positives, that's another thing. If they compliment you and you minimize yourself. If you're a catastrophic thinker, whether you magnimize things or you minimize things. If you operate from a place of low self-worth. If you shy away from just general conversations, those are the things that they pay attention to. If you have trauma, that's another thing. And if you are vocal about your trauma, if you have trauma from previous relationships, if you have negative experiences in your childhood and you are vocal about that, they can see that. They can see that in the way you speak, in the way you behave, in the way you interact with people. That is the easiest way to identify if they can manipulate you. If there are certain qualities about yourself that you find low, if you have a lack of self-confidence or anything like that, they're going to take...
How do men pick who they manipulate, and how do you know when they genuinely...
So when we have, like 80% of women complaining about being manipulated, what she said in all those long words and that long thing is, men see broken women and say, I'll just break them more, it doesn't matter. She doesn't know any better. She's a fun girl. She's a cool girl, right? All the things women want to be. And the only reason you think you want to be that is because you have a broken family or some shit. You have trauma from your childhood. So wouldn't that mean, we're in an epidemic of women are getting fucking destroyed. And niggas is sitting there like, good, that means more pussy for me. Pathetic.
Go into the silence. Go and sit down quietly.
What I'm hearing is...
Go into the silence. Go and sit down quietly by yourself.
What I'm hearing is you guys won.
Go into the silence. Go and sit down quietly by yourself for 30 to 60 minutes. 30 to 60 minutes. Most people in our society have never sat quietly for 30 to 60 minutes in their entire lives. Yet I will tell you this method works 100% of the time. That any problem that you have, any difficulty, any challenge, any goal that you want to accomplish, if you'll go into the silence and sit quietly and then listen to the still small voice within. The still small voice within. This is the key. You will find that at a certain point, probably at about 25 to 30 minutes, your mind will go completely clear. And then a flow of ideas will start to flow into your mind. You'll feel energy welling up inside you. And at a precise moment, as you sit there in complete silence, your mind will go clear and wham! Exactly the answer you need will come at exactly the... Go